Hey, what's up? It's Bond. Let's talk about The Division 2. Let's talk about the final Lieutenant Manhunt, the main target, and what we may be seeing in the future of The Division 2. First, if you like The Division 2, if you like gaming, news, speculation, reviews, all of that, please subscribe to the channel. I also have a podcast that is on here and on all podcast providers called the EchoCast. You can check that out as well. It's a weekly news show. Let's get into this video. First, I'm going to throw out a disclaimer. This is going to be full of spoilers. So if you haven't played the finale of year 4 of season 11 for The Division 2, then come back later, please. I want to hear your thoughts. So assuming you've left because you don't want spoilers or you just don't care and you're still here, the first thing I'm going to say is that at the time I'm making this video, the literally the very end of the final part of this whole event is bugged. And so basically you finish, you kill a Razorback. That should sound familiar. There's a cutscene that you can't skip showing what happened to Lewis. And then another cutscene starts that there's a skip button, and if you need to hit that as soon as it pops up, and then you should be able to get past the bug. Okay, so let's actually talk about the update. So we had the final target, and that was Auntie. We had some voice comms with that, and then that led to the final confrontation with Stovepipe, and then some other stuff. So Auntie's manhunt was fine. You know, these manhunts aren't that complicated. The highlight of them, at least to me, are the voice comms that you pick up, and they are giving us these little sprinkles of story and lore and stuff like that. And this one was off the top of my head, nothing really stood out. You can go to people like NGN and other YouTubers who are going to do like deep dives into the lore here, but you know, it was similar stuff, kind of seemingly maybe Stovepipe and it wasn't super thrilled with working with the Black Tusk. Maybe didn't seem to believe in what they were doing a whole lot as we were leading up to their manhunt. So he took care of Auntie. That fight was on Roosevelt Island. It was okay. Again, the individual targets, like they're normally in cool set pieces, but they're rarely like really interesting fights. They're just kind of like doing like a super bounty basically, which is what they are. So but it was nice, and the voice comms were cool. I suggest you check them out. The that mission on Roosevelt led to a mission in Coney Island, and this was definitely really interesting. This whole finale of season 11 was definitely, I think, one of the most unique things they've done, maybe ever. I'll give them that credit. You show up to Coney Island, you go into the mission, and there's no enemies, and you just run and you run. You have you know, your drone operator is giving you intel and basically saying like, hey, there's no one, but Stovepipe is at the beach with some mortar launchers, with some launchers, and we need to go, you know, take care of that because there was fear that they were going to like carpet bomb the entire Washington DC area. So you get there and Stovepipe is dead, and you know, they're deceased, and then that begins a fight. So what we end up realizing is that this was an ambush by Black Tusk. It was a distraction, which I'll talk about in a moment. And what then happened is you have to fight your way out of the park, and it's actually, I think it's all robots that you fight. Whether it's the big giant drones, the smaller drones, the dogs, and then it all culminates with a new dog archetype we haven't seen before that has a insane flamethrower and grenade launcher. I'm fairly certain. I can't believe I I ever got past it. I think it only actually took me 2 tries. Now, I struggled. I was running a skill build with this, and I struggled pretty heavily with this entire mission, getting out of the park. Basically, the lesson was to just take it slow, and you have to take out the EMP things and all that, and you work your way out. And then I felt like it was just a little bit of dumb luck with the final part of this mission. So what happens is you get out of Coney Island, you get out of the park, and you transpo back to DC. And this was probably one of my favorite things ever. They basically recreated the beginning of Division 2, like when you start a brand new playthrough. And it starts off with your agent getting dropped off by a helicopter, jumping out, and you're standing in the same spot you stood in at the very beginning of the game. You get a similar message that the White House is being attacked. The Shade network is down, but you've got nodes that are still like mobile nodes that are still keeping you going. And so you have to go save the White House. But instead, this time of who was it in the beginning of the game? Was it hyenas? Whoever was attacking. This time it's Black Tusk, and they're raiding the White House, and you start working your way through that market. You kill a bunch of enemies there. You work your way towards the south lawn of the White House. There's a Razorback there and some troops. You have to take that thing out, and then you go into the White House. Now this is where the bug happens. There's two cutscenes that play, and the first one is just it's showing what happened to Captain Lewis, the True Sons guy who was helping us out. He got killed. I don't know if you could tell what he got killed by, but it was a hunter, to which Sokolova referred to as Agent. So I think that I suspect that was supposed to be a pretty big hint, and we see what happened there. But we find out that Manny hid our old Black Tusk sick patient. He's still he's still alive. He was one of the targets. When you were running up to the White House, you see there was a cutscene showing helicopters taking away the bioreactor. I kind of made a joke I was talking to a dev about that, and I was like, I wasn't even sad to see that thing go, because we've had that thing for 2 years and we've never done anything with it, despite the fact that Chernenko is wandering around somewhere. I suspect that's gonna come into play in year 5. But you go in, you find Manny in a secret room. They're fine. This was an interesting scene because I thought it was bugged out. But what I found out from talking to someone, and let me know who you think it is, the agent in that isn't a bugged out, it's not supposed to be you, it is a different agent. And that agent we've interacted with before, but you may not know who they are. So down in the comments of the video, if you made it to this point, let me know who you think it is, and I'll be curious if anyone realized who they were. So then it cuts to, and this is where the bug happens, and so then you go to the castle to get your final message, and what you essentially hear is the Black Tusk leader Sokolova talking about Vikram Malik and kind of blackmailing them and having them hostage. They insinuate that they're basically gonna make everyone think that you're the one who killed Stovepipe, which there's a lot of there's always these threats of blackmailing our agents into being like, oh, you killed the president, you killed, this person, and it never really goes anywhere. I assume it's all leading to things, but I still think it's kind of interesting. And that's it. So I left out a ton of details. Like I said, someone like NGN or others are going to go into way more detail. I'm trying to give the overview, but overall, this was really cool from a lore and narrative and story perspective. It was really cool. They did reference the first or a couple books ago, the Recruited, I believe, by the same author as a more recent book that I haven't read yet, but they specifically talk about a bombing in St. Louis. I've seen people talk about this on social media and in the subreddit. I haven't actually read the book yet. I need to get on that so I understand what in the world they're talking about. But it's really interesting to think about where this is going. So I do reference back to the the plan for year 5, and they showed us this, and we see some interesting stuff here. So in season 1, which will be coming up here, I believe in June, we'll have the descent mode come out. I've already talked a little bit about that. I think that descent mode is fine. I just suspect it's going to be kind of like Countdown. It's going to have a small audience. It's only going to hold people for a little bit, but hey, it's something if you want something to do. The castle rebuild, which we see in 2 of these seasons, it's going to be fun to see that. I suspect that moving forward, the castle is going to be one of our more major bases, especially as the White House has been compromised and is pretty beaten up. And then some apparel events. So I think the focus of season 1 is going to be whatever the story is here, but especially it's going to be a focus on the descent mode. Season 2, we see here that we have incursions back. I've talked about this before, so I won't go into it deep now. I wish we would have gotten like 5 incursions instead of 2 raids, or even just 4 or whatever. I think incursions fit this player base and this game better. I think raids, especially 8-man raids, are just too much to ask for this community, and I think they were just chasing destiny too much here, as they have in many other situations. But you know, is what it is. But I'm glad to see incursions back, and I hope that in the future that's all we ever get. The castle rebuild continues, and it seems like this incursion is going to be the focus of this season. This Vanguard season is interesting. It says we're going back to New York, and even in the division day that they had when they talked about this, basically it sounds like we're going to have a lot of revelations about the end of Warlords of New York, and I assume we're going to find out a bunch of stuff that's new, that's extremely impactful, and that's going to be a big deal to the future of the story. So that is interesting. Then this final season here is season 4. We're going to have a story DLC, which we haven't had since Warlords, which is pretty exciting. Seasons 2.0, which is supposed to be basically a revamp of how the end game works with the Division 2. And this is interesting. So we have this picture here to represent the season 4. I'm about 99% sure that we're going to be going back to Brooklyn. I think they are going to either start, maybe they had to do it from scratch, but potentially basically updating and that Brooklyn map from the opening of Division 1 and making that a new player area. It makes sense to me because I think that area is small enough that they could make that playable, updated, do everything they need to do, but without having like a 200-400 person team, that they can do this on a smaller scale. It's supposed to have story missions and side missions and all, it's supposed to basically be a whole new area, which we haven't seen since Warlords. I believe this Seasons 2.0 as well is supposed to set this game up to go into a type of hibernation. My guess is that this Seasons 2.0 is going to be a way for them to rerun all the previous seasons on a loop, but make it more interesting than simply just rerunning the seasons. And I suspect this will be the final content for the Division 2. I genuinely believe this year 5 is going to be the final year of content, that it's going to lead to an announcement of an eventual Division 3, which I suspect won't be out for at least 2 or 3 or 4 years. And I think that this is going to be wrapping up this story as we see it. Now, I am completely speculating on that. Who knows? I definitely don't. I won't pretend like I have any insider information with that. It's just, that's my best guess. I think by the time this comes out and by the time this season is done, we'll at least have a release date for the Star Wars game that Massive is working on. I've said a bunch of times that that Star Wars game has to come out before they can make a Division 3. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this wraps up, Season 2.0 gets implemented, Star Wars comes out, they start working on Division 3, and they use Heartland to kind of keep us busy for a few years until we can play Division 3. That's my guess. No real insider info on it, so don't take that to the bank or anything, but I have a feeling that here in 3-4 years I'll be proven right, but we'll have to wait and see. But overall, I thought this wrap up of this season and year were great. I thought they did a really good job. I felt like season 10 was kind of a letdown, but 11 definitely, I think, made up for it. I could care less about the gear, the guns, all that stuff. I'm very over the looter side of this game, but the story and the gameplay experiences I'm here for them. I'm excited to see what they have in store for year 5, how this stuff will play out, and I hope that you'll be around. So let me know what you thought about this. If you've completed it, let me know, what you thought of everything, what you think is happening in year 5 down in the comments. If you like Division 2, if you like other gaming news and speculation and reviews and everything, please subscribe to this channel. If you like this video, please like it. Leave a comment down below with anything, just say hello. You can find me all over the internet as Von Diesel, including on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram. You can support my content on Patreon at patreon.com/BonDiesel for as little as $1 a month. That gets you ad-free podcast of my weekly gaming news and speculation podcast called The Echo Cast, which is also on all podcast platforms. Okay, that pitch is done. That's all I have for this one. Until next time.